Starting the recording.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of World 1-1 Podcast. I am your host, Larry the Bearded Wonder. With me, as always, is my sidekick, Eddie Nestle Wonderball, Magic Head V. What up?
The baby. You must rescue the baby.
Yeah, no shit, the baby. Jesus Christ. So, obvious topic is obvious. We're going to jump right into what have you been playing this week, Eddie?
Picked up Destiny 2. Started that. For some unknown reason, I got to try to figure a way to get my pictures from Destiny 2 up on Facebook. They're like on my Twitter page, but I got to figure a way to do it for Facebook because I kind of like my hunter character. I like the design that I made with them. So playing that, but picked up Rayman Legends, but haven't started yet. Was playing more Rayman, Mario and Rabbids. Probably would be picking up Cave Story Plus soon, and some other Switch games.
Do get it.
Yeah. There's a whole line, dude, but because of vacation, I gotta kind of save up and stuff. I picked up Edge's top 100 games of modern games of 2017. So I haven't gone through that yet, but I am going to be reading that. And I really didn't play nothing from my PlayStation 4 yet. Was playing Gears of War 4 some more. Was quite enjoying that, doing a hardcore mode on that. And of course, our topic of this discussion, Metroid: Samus Returns. Started that up. Haven't took out none of the amiibo just yet. Kind of kept it in the package. And I'm glad that I kind of bought mine first, because people started ordering it and they only sent us 4 at my job. So I got my copy of the game, and, last time I checked, of course, all our amiibo was to go that Friday, but we only had 1 copy left. They sent us 4 copies of Metroid: Samus Returns, so that is a good sign. And a lot of people have literally been playing it this whole weekend, posting it and just saying, hey, if you do not own this game and you own a 2DS or 3DS, get it. Like, people are pushing marketing this game like very well. Like, even Arby's did a little thing, which was
Arby's
really
advertising is always on point.
Yeah. Actually, tried their new, like, it's like a barbecue sandwich, really good with their turkey. I gotta try the Arby beef or the beef one, next time. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. Just been putting a lot of time on my Switch, trying to balance and stuff, but focusing a lot on Samus Returns. Really getting my tail kicked because of missing and keep forgetting that I had to melee the attacks, the counter attacks, and hit them and stuff. But other than that, and really enjoying this game. I feel like this game is easier than the regular Metroid 2, but we'll get into that later. So, but that's what I've been
say playing. That shit now.
But you want to know? But you want to know why I say it? Well, we'll get into that when we get into the topic.
So, my week has been pretty much exactly what you would expect. I did a quick whip through the OG Return of Samus, and then I walked into GameStop on Friday, and I picked up my copy of Samus Returns. They also had a couple of the amiibo packs there, and I grabbed one because Walmart fucked up, and the ones that I ordered weren't going to show up till Monday. So I grabbed an extra set to actually unbox, and the ones that I get from Walmart are going to stay in the package because the package is actually really pretty.
How did
But
that mess up?
yeah, because Walmart's fucking stupid.
So they got the game, but they didn't get the amiibo.
Apparently, go figure.
Wow.
So, anyways, so yeah, picked that up. I finally got a new 3DS XL, an upgrade from my original 3DS XL. Got my pretty Samus edition.
Yes.
There is an unboxing video of all the Samus Return stuff up on the YouTube channel as well. So if you want to take a look at that and along with everything else, go check that out. There's an unboxing for the 3DS, the game, the soundtrack, the amiibos, everything related. It's all there. But in any case, the new 3DS has, I like it. I like the super stable 3D. It's taken me a little while to get used to because it's got a couple of quirks to it, but it does work fairly well. The one thing two things I do not like about it. One, I do not like that to get to the SD card, or in this case now it's just a micro SD, you have to unscrew the panel on the back and pop the panel off. There's no simple, just little port with a cover like the old 3DS XL had. Additionally, the other thing I do not like is I do not like the stylus placement. The old 3DS XL had the stylus coming out the right-hand side of the system there, and it was a perfect place because I could hold the system with my left hand and just draw it out with my right hand, whereas the new 3DS XL has the stylus coming out the bottom right-hand side of the system.
So
it's just like a little more peculiarly placed.
So it's the same new 3DS XL because it's when they first brought it out, that was like some of the problems. Well, mostly the micro SD card.
Stylus right there. So, but yeah, it's a new 3DS XL. It's just got a super pretty paint job on it with our girl on the front. But other than that, it's a nice piece of hardware. I like it.
Yeah, a lot of people actually like the 2DS, the new 2DS. Everybody like that design and like with the micro SD cards and stuff.
I could see that, but I wanted the 3DS XL because I wanted the Samus Edition one for my own personal collection of Samus stuff, of which I have copious amounts, and then I also actually like the 3D on the 3DSs. I still use it, and if ever there was a reason to have it, Samus Returns is it.
Yeah,
God.
I advise if you playing Samus Returns on original 3DS, do not do the 3D. Do it on the new 3DS. It looks very wonky, and it's just
But man, turn that 3D on. The effect was so well done. Like, it's got just a beautiful layering and depth to it, though. And again, like I said, the super stable 3D helps because it tracks your face to adjust the 3D effect, so that it widens out that sweet spot of where you're not getting that double vision thing going on. But man, the 3D effect on Samus Returns is fantastic. They did a beautiful job. If ever there was a reason or an argument to be had for 3D, this is the game that makes it.
Well, you know what? The backgrounds alone, not even in 3D, looks phenomenal.
Dude, the depth effect really does make it better.
Ooh.
It really does. Seriously, turn it on.
There's one section where you're going up vertical, and in the back it looks like these pillars are falling. Did you see that one in 3D?
Oh yeah.
How did that one look?
It all looks gorgeous.
Like,
it looks phenomenal.
Like, Mercury System put some work into this game.
Mercury Steam, yeah.
Oh, Mercury Steam. I keep calling it Mercury System.
Well, last time before this, it was Mercury Stream.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I am gonna make fun of you every time you get that shit wrong.
Well, I don't know why I keep thinking of Mercury System. I thought that was their name because I feel like Mercury
System, I think, is their engine that they use.
Okay, because that sounds.
But the company is Mercury Steam.
Like Mercury System just sounds like a cool company name to me. It does.
Yeah, I think that's their software engine because I did actually see that mentioned in the end credits. It was built on Mercury System.
It's so fun, funny that a lot of people had doubts that they worked on it because of them being connected to Castlevania, and now everybody's just like, go buy this game, like literally go buy this game. It's one of those things with, and we're gonna get back into the Metro discussion, that when Nintendo works with a company, you see how far they help that company to evolve. Like, of course, we always talk about Platinum, but I'm just like, look at Capcom.
Talk about Retro. Look at what Retro was before Prime.
Look what Rare was before they actually started making Nintendo games.
Well, to be fair, Rare was almost always making Nintendo games. Go all the way back to Donkey.
First party games, like Nintendo first party games, not like RC Pro-Am. Oh goodness, RC Pro-Am! I can't believe I pulled that one out the blue. Like you could see that game and then see what they did with Nintendo's products, like like with their IPs.
But you got to keep in mind too that when this kind of thing happens, Nintendo installs some of their staff, with the company that they're working with to oversee it, to make sure that everything is up to snuff.
And maybe that's probably why Team Koei, Koei Tecmo, and Bandai Namco, I think that's why they continue to work with Nintendo to make better games.
I'm sure it's part of it. I'm sure even if the relationship ended, there would still be some takeaway for them that, would lead to some overall improvement in the future compared to where they were at before. So, but yeah, getting back to the topic at hand though, just oh my, fair warning, we will probably get into some spoilers. So if you haven't played it or finished it yet, you may want to turn this off now and come back to it afterwards.
Well, let's try to hint at some stuff. Let's not try to spoil it because it did just come out. I know you're ready to spoil it because you beat the game, but let's hint to them to be like, okay, the game came out.
We'll call it some low key stuff. Yes. Nothing particularly crucial, but and we'll give you the week to get through it because next week we're gonna have full on. I think we may have the full crew back because Corey is out celebrating Hana Yamadan or something.
Hana Yamadan. No, he's selling Jewish New Year. Yeah, this is the time. Like if I was working at the grocery store, we would be busy bringing up a whole bunch of food for people because of it. In my area of work, I should say.
So, jumping in, having played through the whole thing, I will say I personally have some nitpicks. Like in my head, I'm writing like 2-3 different articles mentally in my head. One, I'm mentally writing a review. 2, I'm mentally writing a comparison piece between Samus Returns and Return of Samus. And 3, I'm also mentally writing a comparison piece between Samus Returns and AM2R. One of the things that popped out at me in relation to AM2R is it feels like there are some low-key nods to AM2R. In playing through, if you've played through AM2R, compared to the original, you'll know that the different areas are now all themed out of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was the hydro station and the power distribution center and the golden temple and everything. And it feels like they kind of nod back to that. Like there's, again, it's not really a spoiler other than the fact that it's just, here's some visual aesthetic. But there are there's a section that kind of looks like a nod to the Golden Temple. There's another one that looks like a nod to like the Crystal Mines.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that kind of borders on like the hydro station. So there are little things in there that make me go, yeah, they played it, and they they kind of went, we can't officially give you props in the credits or anything, but nice job. So the a personal nitpick, comparing this to the original, and I had the same complaint honestly with AM2R, is I don't like the spider ball design. I really do not like the spider ball design
with the green circles around it.
Yeah. If you go into the art gallery when you finish it, you can actually see kind of like the concept art,
Mm-hmm.
that it's supposed to be like this metal kind of toothed blade thing that digs into the rocks and all that. And I'm like, no, you've got it wrong. Prime got it wrong too. That's not the damn spider ball. And it's even just apparent in the original source material artwork, is the spider ball works by means of like a gooey membrane that you stick to shit. Not that it's necessarily climbing gear. It's like gooey, slimy, stick to shit kind of thing.
The spider ball, in my opinion, I don't remember the spot. Well, I guess Metroid Samus Return of Samus is where the spider ball first started.
Yeah.
Okay.
That game was the source material of the spider ball.
Okay.
But up until Prime, that was the only game that had the spider ball.
Okay. Yeah, because Prime was the first one I witnessed the spider ball, and I thought it was a new power. And that one made more sense because of it being electric, being almost like a magnet connected to her suit. So,
it made sense the way they did it in Prime because Prime was a 3D thing.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is one of those things, and this is why I was pushing you to go back and play the original, is because the original iteration of the spider ball, much like what you have here in Samus Returns, was you could climb everything.
Well, I think it's because of the limitations of the Game Boy. And with it not being color and or anything, this new take on it, I feel like I don't have no problem with the spider ball with this one. I think
again, the functionality's there. It's a design aesthetic that irks me.
You know what? I think this one is cleaner than it is in Return of Samus.
So, but in any case, like I said, it's a nitpick, but it's one of those things that it was a big part of why I liked the spider ball. I liked the concept, not just the power, but I liked the idea behind it. Mm-hmm. That it was that gooey, sticky, thing to crawl on the walls with. So,
well, for me, the thing I don't like it with the analog control.
Yeah. Oh God, we got to talk about the controls.
Like I've grown accustomed to it, but because it's that analog control is too finicky, it sometimes you'll miss jumps that you need.
Spider ball.
Look like a cough drop in some Jello.
Spider ball, gooey membrane.
Look like a cough drop.
So, but in any case, and because this is audio only again this week because Corey's off lighting a menorah, um,
Yeah,
the artwork that I was just referencing to Eddie here is in the game. Once you beat it, you can get to the. No, I'm sorry. I think it might be an Amiibo unlock, but it's in one of the art galleries.
Art galleries.
You can see the original concept art from the old manual of the Spider Ball.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah, no. Back to the controls, though. You first.
I like the fact that the Y, the B, the A button, and the X for the melee. I really didn't have no problems with the button layout. They all feel fine. Even having the aiming with the L, the lock on with the L, even that was easier. Like that felt fine. The problem with it was
like the whole right hand side of the system was good.
Pretty well. The top, yeah, the top and the right, yeah. It would. The directional pad would have gave more precise control with jumps and movement. Mm-hmm. With the analog, there are parts in the game that it really messes you up, especially when you're fighting Metroid.
Yeah.
But overall, I mean that probably would be my only problem with it. I know they take off a lot of damage, and but I kept, for me personally, I kept forgetting to counterattack with my melee. But everything else seems to be fine. You still could get lost, but if you take a break and just look around and still explore, you'll be fine to be like, oh, okay. I got it. That's fine. Yeah. I do love the fact that if you die in this game, from a Metroid battle, you're right by the door with whatever energy you started off.
There are checkpoints beyond just the save spots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's just that analog. And you literally, it kind of feels like it forces you to hold the L button to lock on so you don't move. Because sometimes you have to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think if they would have gave you the option to do analog or directional pad, I would have played this game with directional pad. Samus just controls better. She would have controlled better in that 2D space with that directional pad than the analog.
Oh, agreed. Honestly, I really think the way they should have done it is everything on the right-hand side of the system was great. If they had taken the movement and put it on the D-pad and then used the circle pad for the free aim, for the 360 free aim,
mm-hmm.
and then you've got the Aeon abilities, which are presently mapped to the D-pad. What they could have done is just, hold your L trigger, and then that'll switch the D-pad from movement to switching your Aeon abilities just briefly, and then you can let off of it, and you've got your movement again.
Mm-hmm. I do like
that's the way I would have done it.
I do like the fact that,
but I can kind of understand too putting the movement on the circle pad because again, the placement of the circle pad compared to the D-pad. Ideally,
the D-pad,
if the D-pad and the circle pad had been flipped around where they physically are on the system,
mm-hmm.
that would have been perfect.
Yeah, and I can understand, and I can understand that the D-pad was for the Eons or
Aeons, yeah,
the Aeons, yeah, to give you more freedom to easily select it. Because I do like that they put the powers on the touch screen, so whatever you need to go to, you can just touch it and and go about your business. I do like that part, but yeah, it was just that analog. Other than that, I'm having a blast with this game. Art style is good. You might have a different opinion about the music. Because I know you said you had a problem with one of the tracks, and I think that's later on in the game than where I'm at.
It's more of a programming issue, I think. And
Okay.
I really don't know what the issue was.
Well, you know what?
But
Because we might have two different opinions on this one. Because I don't know if you've been playing it with headphones. I haven't. So I don't know if I don't know if the headphones give you a better sound quality to hear more, than without hearing it without headphones.
a little bit, depending on your headphones, you get a little more of that full sound rather than the slightly tinnier version that you'll get out of your 3DS speakers. But what Eddie's referring to here is, and again, minor spoiler, maybe. There are superheated areas in the game that you can't get to or that you can't go in without the Various suit.
Yes.
That's kind of a given at this point. But any of the superheated areas, when you walk into them, the music is always the same. It's always the theme from Norfair. It's the Norfair Death March music.
From Super Metroid?
Super Metroid, and then it got reused in Prime as the Magmore Caverns.
Dun,
but
dun,
yeah.
Dun, dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun.
Yep.
Okay.
The Norfair Death March. So, however, my bitch here is that outside of those areas, when you go into a fight with any of the Metroids, you get this awesome, combat music for those boss fights. When you're in the superheated areas and you're fighting a Metroid, because there are some of them in those superheated areas, the Norfair Death March music overrides everything. You don't get the Metroid combat music. It just keeps playing the Norfair Death March. Which my other complaint comes for this reason is that music always helps put you on edge just a little. It lets you know that you walked into a room and, oh shit, here we go. Versus walking into a room, and if you're not entirely paying attention and hearing that little chirping on your radar, then you'll walk in and suddenly, oh, look, it's now kicking my ass. There was no audio change, no music change to cue that, notice. And so it feels like a programming error, honestly. But that is consistent throughout the whole game. Every time that comes up, the Norfair Death March always overrides everything else music-wise. But on a broader spectrum in regards to the music, I was really... What's there is good. But I was really hoping that they would take advantage of the fact that the original had next to nothing when it came to music. It was extremely bare bones. But instead, because that leaves you an opportunity for a clean slate for, stuff that is unique to this game. Rather, what they did was borrow so much of the music from other parts of the series. And so, there's a part where you're in, a very aquatic heavy section, and there's the music from Meridia playing. And all I could think was, yep, this is what water sounds like in a Metroid game every time. It's recycled music with variations on a theme. I will say there was one piece of music in there that was a direct homage to Return of Samus that made me super happy. And honestly, the piece of music that they were referencing was barely music at all. It was originally just like the sound of things kind of creeping and crawling in the background, and they built that into a music piece for Samus Returns, and it made me really happy. I was like, I love this fact. But for the most part, there's really barely any original theme music tracks in here that aren't just recycled from other entries in the series, and that kind of disheartened me. But what's there is good. Nothing original in here music-wise is really going to stick with you, though. Nothing super hummable. But it sets the mood right for the most part. But yeah, overall, it was a phenomenal experience to play through, and I will be powering through it just repeatedly. I was telling Eddie before we hit record that this game has 9 fucking endings. I will not spoil how to get them, but I will tell you that there are 3 different endings for each difficulty setting. Because you've got your standard difficulty, there's hard mode, where all the enemies do double damage, and then there's fusion mode, if you've got the right amiibo to unlock it with, where the enemies are doing even more than double damage. Apparently, the additional difficulties do not make it harder to kill anything, it just makes it so that they can kill you all the easier.
Okay, so just take off more energy. You know
right.
what this... and it just came to my mind. I think this game feels like it's running on the Link Between Worlds engine.
No,
to me,
and the
way that it looks, for some reason, because there's something about Link Between Worlds and Samus Returns that. Maybe the graphics, it's something about it that makes it look the same. I know A Link Between Worlds is running faster than Samus Returns, but it's just something about it that's just like something about this aesthetic, something about this look just made me like,
probably
you guys,
just the fact that it's polygonal.
Probably so. And with Link Between Worlds being top down,
polygonal.
Well, yeah. I mean, with Link Between Worlds being top down and Metroid being side scrolling, you can't really see. You probably can't see the difference, or I mean, you probably can't. It probably looks different, I should say. Sorry about that, but there's just something about it. It just feels like they're running on the same engine. That's just what I'm saying. That it looks faster. And maybe it's because I'm playing this one on just the regular 3DS. It probably runs a little bit faster on the new 3DS. Because like when it gets to her being in the elevator going down, it doesn't look choppy. It just looks like a little bit slow, like the frame rate drops.
Just a titch, yeah. And really, the elevator loading screens are the only time that I've seen the frame rate take a hit at all. And even then, it's not a big hit, and I can understand why. Because those are loading screens. That's how they're hiding load screens. Much the same way that Prime hid the load screens when you were going through doors.
Which I can handle. I'm fine with that. Yeah. I have no problem because I don't really use the elevator that much, so that's fine.
Well, there will be places where you have to, but the important thing though is that the fact of the matter is when you're playing the game, that frame rate is locked. It never dips.
Yes.
It is smooth as fucking butter.
And I do also like to say that I love the fact that you could skip cutscenes in here to go to the boss.
Yep. And that's the other thing too is that that frame rate has to be locked because as quick as the action is, and on top of that, the fact that they managed to lock the frame rate and keep it from ever dipping is impressive because there really is a lot going on the screen at any given time.
Yep.
Between background renders and everything happening in the foreground. And there are sections where there are tons of sprites on the screen at any given point.
Yeah.
Especially when you hit the swarms. The swarms are fucking neat.
Well, you got to put on the lightning armor.
The lightning armor. So, and and for what it's worth, I'm not calling spoiler on that because that shit's been in the previews. So
Yeah.
screw you. But in any case, no, it's just so good.
How many sections is
The
this?
controls made
Is
my
it
fucking hand cramp, but
is it 6 sections or 7?
you're looking at. It depends on if you count the surface. Because the surface technically is a section, I suppose.
Yeah, because
So,
when you go to one
you've
particular
got the
area,
surface plus 8 areas in addition to the surface.
so 9.
So really, you've got a total of 9.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then I got like 6 more to go then.
Yep. So, and if you've played the original, the general direction of the flow of the game is the same. It's a big U. You're going to spend 3/4 of the game digging deeper into the planet, and the last quarter you're coming back up to the surface. So you're literally coming in, going down, and then you make a U-turn and you're going back up to get back to the surface to get out. So, but I mean, it flows together extremely well. I loved nearly every minute of it. Like I said, there are some minor things that I did not care for. I'm still not sold aesthetically on the take on the new Metroids versus the old designs, or even versus, especially compared to the AM2R designs.
I think with the Metroids in here, the design is better because you're able to see their hit point easier. Like their form looks better than what the regular form looked like in Samus Returns. You know, there's something about them looking a little bit more menacing, and when they touch you and you lose a lot of health, that look of the menacing like does it justice that they're taking that much energy off.
Yeah, I mean, here they look a little, compared to the original, they have more detail. They do look more menacing here, I think, in certain regards. They feel a little more spindly, almost, which they definitely took the opposite fork in the road as AM2R, because AM2R made them super, like, beefy and just massive. Especially when you get to the Zetas and the Omegas. Those were big, gnarly, snarling beasts. And I think, honestly, I still like the aesthetic of the AM2R versions better, but what's here is good.
Well, you gotta
getting to the difference between the Queen here and the Queen in AM2R, I can see pros to each. But
I think you gotta think about
AM2R executed visually the Queen better.
I think you gotta think about it from the sprites or sprite based versus polygonal. With the 3D. So, of course, I haven't really played a lot of AM2R, but
you need to fix that too.
I know, but I think this 3D look gives them more of a menacing, more of a deadly look to fit that world. And like I said, this is a reimagine or a remake for some people. So, where AM2R felt, because it was sprite based, it kind of felt like a lot of the sprites from the games kind of got copy and paste in it with some added work.
No, not when it came to the Metroids. Those were completely overhauled.
Okay. But like, if for people who didn't play AM2R, I think when they play this one, I think they'll probably be like, "Oh, that's a cool, design for a Metroid." And all these different Metroids that I'm fighting, they have some coolness to them in their artwork.
The other thing here in Samus Returns that felt very familiar from AM2R, which this is a solid thing that they did here. I'm glad they hijacked this. Is that even inside of the individual evolutions, there are variations.
Mm-hmm.
You'll fight alphas that are a little different from one another. You'll fight gammas that are a little different. Same with the zetas and the omegas. Each one has at least 2 different variants to it. I will say the gammas in Samus Returns have some of the fights, not all of them, but some of them have a quirk that is unique to Samus Returns that I did not expect, and I actually kind of liked. In the moment, it was a little irksome, but stepping back and looking at it objectively, I thought it was a neat detail. Let's just say it has to do with a change of scenery, and I won't ruin any more than that.
Okay.
But most of it happens in one area in particular where you'll see that mechanic in action. But it's so much goodness.
I do like this melee mechanic. I know a lot of people say that the game really overuses it because it feels like every time you get into with an enemy. I mean, you can use it when necessary, but like if you are far away, you'll still be able to use your regular shot to kill some enemies and like charge beam and stuff. I kind of do like how they actually looked at Other M and took some of those up close screenshots when you counter attack a Metroid and just like start hitting them with the missiles and stuff. Like that one is still kind of cool.
They definitely cherry picked a few of the really good things from Other M.
Mm-hmm.
The way that the grapple beam handles in here feels like the appropriate 2D translation from Other M. And like you said, the cinematic aspect to some of the combat feels very much pulled from Other M.
Mm-hmm.
But here, I honestly think it feels better fleshed out.
Yes.
Than it was in Other M. My wife was looking over my shoulder earlier today. She's like, Jesus Christ. She's like, I can't believe how fucking good that looks on that little system. Like, she's like, I had no idea that thing could do that.
Yeah.
This feels like the game to really flex your 3DS's muscle to the max.
Yes. And no, like me, I still love Metroid Other M. I like the stuff that they incorporated from that game into this. I think Metroid Other M had more of that Ninja Gaiden design in mind with this action, where this one felt more like not so much as a beat 'em up or an action style game, but more
it felt like the appropriate evolution for the series.
Yes.
In terms of adding an ability for some close quarters combat. Because the series has always been so much about that sense of claustrophobia.
Yes.
And, being in that close quarters and not having the ability to just punch something in the face when it's right up on you has always felt oddly absent. And so here that's been remedied.
And it like the evolution of Metroid, if not game by game, but like, okay, Metroid A is the foundation. kind of started off the open world, where Super Metroid, and the reason why I said went to Super Metroid, did more with the story, its music, and some of the not so much as the gameplay ideas, but it did enough to warrant that as pretty much a game of all time. Like it just does something in its design that make people to, if you're gonna make a Metroid style game or Metrovania game, this is the one that you need to study. Metroid Prime proved that you could put this ideal of this game in first person and make it an adventure game, and it worked. I think not so much as Metroid Fusion, but I think Metroid Zero Mission showed how a remake of a game can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Where now Samus Returns, a reimagination with some new mechanics. This makes it feel like it's a brand new game. Like, even if this wasn't Samus Return and they threw just a Metroid with a name attached to it, it would be so fresh enough that it could stand on its own. And so now we're at this new evolution of the Metroid series. Like, if we didn't have the Prime games, if we didn't have Fusion, if this game came after after Super Metroid, it would be a breath of fresh air. Like, it feels like it was able to stand against Super Metroid. Like, you could see how it evolved, in a sense.
I will say that, speaking to evolution, I would love to see in about 3 or 4 years, I would love to see these guys tackle Metroid Dread. Let's finally move the story beyond Fusion. Because right now the story dead ends at Fusion. I would love to see them tackle what happens after. There are some hints that maybe they're looking at it inside of Samus Returns, depending on how you read into it.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see them take this engine, this control layout, and translate that to, polish it up, HD the hell out of it, and put it on the Switch, because I think by the time that comes around, 3DS will finally be done.
I don't think so. 3DS got too many games, and they're probably
3DS is getting long in the tooth, though. And don't get me wrong. I mean, this feels like it is the appropriate Twilight era for the 3DS.
Well, like I always said, I don't think Nintendo is ready to give up their handheld business. And between Switch and between 3DS, I feel like they both have their own family of games and their own different communities. Some exist together. Some just be like, I don't buy consoles, but I do play a lot of portable because they're on the go. And some people just they don't get intimidated from big console gaming. Some people just feel fine carrying something small in their backpack or in their pocket. So they need that 3DS line, or they need that handheld line from Nintendo to continue forward. Instead of having the Switch be their primary handheld.
But I mean, and it's not to say maybe in 3 or 4 years we see a new dedicated handheld where the 3DS is phased out, because again, we're running on some fairly old hardware. The system is seeing its limits stretched here to the breaking point, and I really think that Samus Returns is a good case for that. Here's something where this is what the system looks like when it's firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that there's really any more room to grow in it. And that's the concern. And so that's, again, a 3-4 year dev cycle for, I'd like to see Dread finally come around. But I would like to see it on Switch. I would like to be able to put it on my big screen. And honestly, if they transposed this control scheme from the 3DS to the Switch exactly as it is, I'd be okay with it. Because honestly, as much as we were bitching about the circle pad on here, if it was an actual thumbstick like it is on the Switch, that would have been okay.
Yeah. It's
something to do with the way that you've got to push the circle pad from the opposite side with your thumb rather than being able to lean into it. Well, it just feels wrong here.
It feels like they took ideas from Prime on for Samus Returns, because like with the directional pad, like how you used to change your guns on that. So I mean,
I actually had the same thought roll through my head earlier too. I'm like,
yeah. So but I think after Prime 4, I think they're gonna hold off on the Metroid series until the next system, or like you said, the next handheld. I don't think Dread. I don't think Dread. I think that storyline or whatever they plan for that, I think that one is dead. I think they're gonna go in a new. If they're going to go in a new way, they're going to have to play through Fusion, or they're going to have to recon, but they can't recon because they already did that with Zero Mission.
I don't think that it's dead, and like I said, when you get through enough of Samus Returns, there is something in there that's hinting at something beyond Fusion. That being said, Mercury Steam also slid in because for anybody that doesn't know the backstory of how Samus Returns happened, Mercury Steam had originally pitched wanting to do a remake of Fusion that Nintendo said no. And later on they came back to him and said, okay, so we don't want you to remake Fusion, but we do want you to remake this instead. So do this.
I think Fusion didn't need a remake.
No, I don't think it does, but I think it's going to get one. And when you get to the end, you'll see why.
They probably put a hint. Well, yeah, I have to get to the end.
There is a direct link to Fusion at the end.
It shouldn't be, though.
It's there. Well, no, I mean, the events of this game directly create the setup for Fusion.
Well, it can't be, because when this ends, Super Metroid happens. So there's not supposed to be no connection.
There is, though. That's the thing. Fusion can't happen without Return of Samus Returns, because, bearing in mind, the events of Fusion take place on the BSL, which is orbiting SR388, where Samus Returns takes place.
Well, yeah,
and the events of Fusion are all about the X-Parasite, which the Metroids were created on SR388 to keep those parasites in check. Now that you've exterminated all the Metroids, there's nothing eating the parasites, and they run rampant, and that's what causes the events of SR.
But don't she
Fusion.
go? But don't she goes back to SR388 in Super Metroid? Doesn't she?
No, Super Metroid is back on Zebes, where the original Metroid took place. Metroid 1 is Zebes, Metroid 2 is SR388, Super is back to Zebes, Fusion is back to SR388.
So is part of Fusion starting
that opening cutscene in Fusion, they're on the surface of SR388.
So but Samus is on Zebes at that time. So, because because of what happens in 2, and that intro Super Metroid, because of
The
what
intro
happened.
to Super Metroid ties to Metroid
Should
2
should
only in regards to that's where
Right,
the baby
but
Metroid came from. That's it.
but that's what I'm saying. Because of that intro of Super Metroid, during that time of Super Metroid, the stuff that's happening on SR 3088 should be happening also because of there's no Metroids on there.
Right, that's happening in the background. The X parasites are starting to run rampant.
Run route. So Super Metroid is happening and Fusion is happening in a sense. The beginning of Fusion is happening in a sense.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Right. But like I said, you will see at the end the direct link in events from Samus Returns to Fusion. And I don't qualify it as a spoiler because at this point the information has already been out there in Fusion as to what happened.
Well, because there's 9 other endings, I don't know which.
You'll get it no matter what. You'll see that part no matter what.
Oh well, yeah, you're supposed to see that part because that part happens in the beginning of Super Metroid.
Right.
Okay.
So, yeah.
But what happens
again,
after?
It feels like Mercury Steam is kind of going, hey, remember that Fusion remake we wanted to do, guys? Wink, wink, hint, hint.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, I could see the connection, but I think they have to move past Fusion because now what happens in Fusion is what Samus is now.
Right, and I think Mercury Steam has left the door open to go either route. They can either get to do the remake on Fusion that they had originally pitched, which means they've probably done some work on it, and it's just kind of sitting there hanging out, or we get what we really want, which is Metroid 5. So
I still think that if they do Metroid 5, I think it's time for Mother Brain to come back. I really think Mother Brain needs to come back.
I'm okay with that being done and gone.
She needs to come back. There's been more Space Pirates than there's been Mother Brain, and it's just like, goodness, y'all was supposed to be under her. Y'all just running rampant. Why is it 16,000 million of y'all and not her back?
They did actually have some reasoning for that written into the story, though.
There's something about that I would just love for Mother Brain to come back. I think Metroid needs that main antagonist, and Ridley is not it, or Ripley is not it.
You had it right the first time. It's Ridley.
Ripley
is aliens.
Oh yeah, that is true. Ridley is not the not anti-socialist. It's not the antagonist of that series. Mother Brain has always been, quote unquote, the brains.
Ridley is an integral part, though.
I mean,
I do think that he's cropped up in way too many entries in the series.
Right, but he's not a threat.
There's a place for it.
He's not a threat like Mother Brain is. Like Mother Brain is literally probably, like, if you look at it, one of the not scariest, but one of the bosses that you just dread sometimes.
Ridley has a more direct connection story-wise to Samus as a character, though.
Yeah, but I feel like that battle has gone on for far too long. Where I feel like if Samus gets back to fighting Mother Brain, because of the technology and the evolution of the Metroid series, Nintendo and whoever the developer they work with, we could say Mercury Steam, they could go deeper. They could put in some like really cool stuff. Like they could make this battle. It won't surpass Super Metroid, but I feel like it could get close to it. There's just something about that battle in Super Metroid still to this very day that is iconic, and there's not many boss fights like that. like I feel like personally within the Metroid series, just in total, in general, that Super Metroid fight is probably number one. It's the most iconic fight that anything that has happened in the Metroid series with Samus.
Wait till you get to the Queen here in Samus Returns. It'll give you a run for your money.
But I don't think it's going to be iconic as Super Metroid.
I think it helps in the fact that this is the first time in a long, long time that the Queen is really getting some recognition and some screen time, though. Because, again, Metroid 2 has always kind of flown under the radar. And here, to get to see that fully realized in an official capacity, I do seriously think that she will give you a run for your money.
Party and challenge, yeah.
I'm seriously curious to hear what you think after you've gotten through
After
it.
I got into it.
Which, I expect by the time we do this again next week that we'll be having that talk.
Well, guys, we're about to probably end the show. The thing that I find iconic about that fight in Super Metroid is that we always say, telling the story without using words and stuff. But I think that fight has such an emotional connection to it that you don't get that emotional connection throughout any other of the games.
You will hear, and I can't tell you how without spoiling something.
Okay.
Because it's something new in here, but you will see the beginning of that connection between the larva and Samus.
The baby.
You will see it and you'll go, that's fucking cool.
Well, yeah, we shall see. One last thing about this. None of the Metroids take your energy.
No, that's something that is strictly relegated to the larval forms.
Okay. I was kind of thinking about that. I was just like, and that even happened in Return of Samus, that none of the Metroids, like, I thought that would be part of their characteristics, or that when they hit you or they get to you, that they grab onto you and suck you. Like, that's
right.
Always been part of the Metroid series. So that's why I'm like, it's kind of weird that this game, they don't do that. But like I said,
it's inherent to the larval form, and as far as I can tell, nothing official has ever been written on the subject. But I would think that they're doing so in order to fuel their growth cycle to get out of that larval form.
I still love that. Just in Super Metroid, the big Metroid just when just coming and sucking stuff up, and the way that it attacks Mother Brain. If you have not played Super Metroid, hook up your Wii U, or even if you got the new 3DS, don't buy that game, and just enjoy it. Cause I swear, okay. That's it. That's the show. That's it. Because Super Metroid, I still, as much as I say, I don't really care about Super Metroid being on collections or best of all times and stuff like that, because I've heard it too many times. So I kind of challenge people to go a different route of making a list like that. I still stand by that Super Metroid, as great as a game that it is, I still just love that ending boss fight. It's iconic. There's a lot of boss fights iconic, and maybe we might want to revisit that day, that as a theme, as a topic, like iconic boss fights that stands out in video games.
Yeah,
because you probably have more in the Metroid series that you might want to talk about that you think. And And I know a lot of them might. I don't think a lot of them will be from Super Metroid, but because I think didn't you say that you like Prime 2? Was it Prime 2 the one?
I love the boss fights in Prime 2.
So that might.
Quadraxis was amazing. The
Which one's...
Shika was awesome.
See, I'm gonna have to go through Prime 2. I'm gonna have to go my Wii U. I think
the Temple Guardians were just phenomenal.
Yeah,
Echoes.
That Prime 2, the regular Metroid, and Samus Returns is the only. Well, Return of Samus are the only Metroid games I have not beat.
I really, really want you to finish this, and once you do, I want you to go through the original and then AM2R because I want to be able to see your thoughts on how these three compare. Because we've now got 2 official and 1 unofficial iteration of this same entry in the series.
But I don't want to, Papa.
Oh, you have to. You have to. You've got to play the original just as a point of reference for the source material.
Yeah.
And then you really should play AM2R because AM2R does still actually offer some things that Samus Returns doesn't. And that's one of the things, too, that I actually felt Samus Returns missed out on is that AM2R hit was filling out that lore just a little bit. AM2R, had the lore scans in it, or not necessarily the lore scans, but like the creature scans, the environmental stuff. And you got a little bit deeper into the story through that text on offer, but it wasn't forced upon you. Samus Returns is entirely devoid of that. And I was a little sad to see that because I thought it was a great addition. It was a great feature in AM2R that's gone here. That being said, like I said, there is a kind of sort of a new story point in here that wasn't in the original or in AM2R. But the other thing that I think AM2R hit that felt noticeably absent, especially given the connection to Fusion that this game has, was Samus Returns has no Ceres in it. Ceres was there in AM2R because it made sense because Fusion basically retconned Ceres' existence on the planet of SR388, and I would have loved to see them bolster the content with a Ceres fight as well, much the way AM2R did. But it's not a deal breaker by any means. It's just one of those little nods, little details that I think could have, served the game extremely well. And had it not have been for AM2R, I probably wouldn't have given it much of a second thought. But it exists. I can't not know it.
You just want to do that,
it's fucking there. So, and especially, coming from a dev team that wanted to remake Fusion, it's one of those things that you would have thought they'd have gone, yeah, we should do that. Just to be able to get our hands on that experience, because it's something that they would have likely had to have done with a Fusion remake anyway. It's like, why would you not put it in here? But I think it would have looked gorgeous with just the lush world that they've turned SR388 into. So,
well, maybe next time when I come down next year, because I'm on vacation, it's kind of like kaput. Probably will do a rundown of actually playing the Metroid games.
Next time you're here, you and I are going to power through the original Return of Samus and AM2R. You got to do it, man. You won't regret it.
But before we do that, can we get 2 things? can I get a king gyro? And then can I get the chicken potatoes?
Porta pits dependent on the time of the year,
Yes.
but gyros anytime.
Yes.
So. But in any case, that's it for us this week. Glad to be back in the regular groove. With any luck, next week Corey will be here, and hopefully we'll finally get to break the seal on our new crew member as well, and break them in, and finally be back at a full strength, as it were. Again, humble apologies for the lack of video this week. For anybody checking us out on the YouTube channel, Corey kind of has that one in his hands, and like he said, he's off spinning a dreidel somewhere. So, but beyond that, Eddie, pimp your shit.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at ThatRetroCode. You guys can email World11Podcast at World11Podcast@gmail.com. You can check out Optional Opinion, which is my podcast, on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, and other podcast apps. Also, check out my Optional Opinion page on IGN.com under Anime ENIME. I have started the Beauty of Video Games. So when you guys hear this, the Beauty of Handhelds will be officially that you guys can read all of that and listen to the podcast episode with Corey Derrick, where we talk about handhelds. We even talk about Tiger Electronics, dude. That's a throwback. But this week, when you guys hear this,
that was my introduction to the Metal Gear series, was the Tiger Electronics handheld.
Really?
Dead serious.
Actually, I remember Metal Gear on NES. So under Ultra Games. But this week, when you guys hear this podcast, it's going to be about the beauty of PC/mobile games. So you guys will be able to check that out on IGN.com. Also check out Arsenal X and Nintendo Pop Block on NGRradio.com.
Don't forget the Nerds Gone Platinum and NGR, the show itself. All our wonderful affiliates. Shows on the NGR channel on YouTube. Make sure you check that out. Hit subscribe there. You can also, of course, find us on our home site of shoutengine.com. You can also check us out on iTunes and Google Play Music. As mentioned previously, we're there on YouTube, as well as we've got rebroadcasts of past episodes running all the time on our Twitch channel, World11 Podcast, all spelled out. Don't forget to hit us up on the Facebook page and on Twitter at World1_1 Podcast. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah. And until next time, everybody, please, if you have not picked up Super Metroid or any of the Metroid games, definitely if you not have picked up Samus Returns, we advise you guys to go pick it up. It is available for 3DS. As for the Amiibos, good hunting. Hopefully Nintendo will stock some. I know we didn't talk much about it, but watch Larry's video on NGR Radio on YouTube and see how he squished the little Metroid, your
squishy amiibo.
And look, you actually got me, before we go, you actually got me at work hyped up because I seen it. I was just like, squish, I'm gonna squish you, but I haven't took mine out yet. But everybody, that is it for World11 Podcast. We will see you next week. Bye.
Peace.
We'll be right back.